Hi, I'm Joe,
I'm Joe's mom.
and we are
Eastside
Eastside Vibes.
Vibes.
Today we wanted to talk about Post Malone and his new album, Austin. So, one thing I think is funny is I think my mom is actually probably more into Post Malone than I am. When he first came out in the mid 2010s, I thought he was really good. I thought his sound was very unique in how he could fuse pop music and trap music.
I agree.
His first two albums are great in
Yes,
my
they
opinion.
are. Yep.
But after that, I think unfortunately other artists realized that they could copy that type of music.
Correct.
And he didn't like that. So he tried to diversify his sound. And with the next album, Hollywood's Bleeding, I just don't think it's very good. Like, he tried, and I respect him for trying, for sure. But yeah, it just did not work for me. There's a lot of songs on that album where it's like, dude, what are we doing here?
Right.
And 12 Karat Toothache, the album that came out last year, is even more like that.
Yeah.
That album, I don't know.
Do you think it was selling out to the industry? Do you think the industry was like, you need to change your tone to the way you're going, and so he did that?
I think that's partly true. He didn't want to make the type of music that he was making before, and folk music was starting to become and is continuing to become more and more popular.
It's coming back.
And you would think he would be able to do it because of his voice.
Right.
And actually on this album, I think he does it very well.
Oh, very well.
But I don't know if 12 Karat Toothache was just rushed or...
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that there's random, pop songs thrown into there, and there's, a couple random hip-hop songs. It's just do one thing or do the other. Don't be all over the place like that.
I'm going to agree.
But, yeah, anyway...
And I've always been a big fan of him. I like his music. I'm going to agree with the analysis that Joe said with all of his albums. But for me personally, I've always thought he is a very interesting human, or a very kind human, because whenever I've seen interviews with him, or when he was on Jimmy Fallon that one time and they went to Olive Garden, he was always referring to him as sir, and when the waitress came over, ma'am. And he recently it's on Spotify, he did a Post Malone experience with the creator for Call Her Daddy, and he was referring to her as ma'am throughout the whole thing. And I think that personal part of him has always endeared him to me, no matter what.
He definitely seems like a really sweet dude, and that's probably why people keep giving him chances on his music and are so attracted to him, even though his last two albums weren't that good.
Right.
Because usually when that happens, people stop listening to that person. They're they wouldn't have given Austin a chance.
I agree. And I feel, at least about this album, and you'll hear us say more about this when we talk about the songs, I feel he put a lot of just personal changes into this album, not just the songs, but everybody has commented about the fact that he lost all of that weight, but he did it for health reasons, and he did it because he wants to feel better. He has a baby now, and I think that may have been part of why he put so much into the songs as well, because he just wants to have a whole new change of the way that he creates himself in the music world.
That's kind of ironic. I agree with that. But a lot of the lyricism on this album is about how he's addicted to alcohol and popping pills.
I know.
So at least he is aware of his problems, and hopefully he can fix or get better.
Right.
But yeah, you can definitely tell that he seems a lot happier.
Yes.
He seems, I don't know, he looks better, and you can see it in him. I think also when 12 Karat Toothache and Hollywood's Bleeding came out, you could tell that he wasn't super passionate about that music, and he didn't seem that happy. Like,
Right.
in interviews and stuff. He was still very polite and all that. But
Correct. Right.
if you're seeing him now, he seems a lot happier.
Right. I mean, immediately after the album dropped, he did the Post Malone Experience, and he's out there really talking about this album. This is I believe this is a passion project for him. And he is more excited about it.
Yeah. So, speaking of the album, going into this record, I actually was not very excited for it.
He told me.
Because I didn't like any of the singles that came out. I thought Chemical it sounds like, I don't know, like a watered down version of like early 2010s dance rock music.
Yes.
Like artists like Tudor Cinema Club or like Neon Trees.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted to listen to that kind of music, I would just listen to those artists.
Right.
There's a reason why that stuff isn't very popular anymore.
Right.
It just didn't age well. And Morning, it reminds me a lot of, or both of us, of a lot of some of his older music. She particularly mentioned that it sounds like Sunflower.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like as good as Sunflower.
No.
I don't know. It's just like, it just doesn't sound as...
No. And again, when I heard that song, I was like, oh, I hope the rest of the album isn't going to be like this, because then you're just going back to your old ways, and, we want something new.
Yeah. And the third single, I think it was Overdrive.
Yes.
That one, it like gave me like hope, because it was like a decent folk song, but it's just not as engaging as a lot of the other music on this record.
Correct.
I don't know why it was chosen as one of the singles. It's fine, but there are other songs on this album that have that sound that I would have picked, because they're a lot, I don't know, they're a lot more like vivid, and like they get you into them.
Right.
That one almost feels a little bit like filler, and it probably even could have been left off the album.
Right.
Which is interesting that it was picked as a single.
Right. Yeah.
But the first song we want to talk about is actually the first song on the album. It's Don't Understand. And that excited me when I heard it, because it's just really good.
It's his classic voice. You can just hear his voice in it, and I was like, oh, here we go, this is good.
He has like that like yodeling sound.
Yes. Oh,
and it's
great.
on acoustic, almost like a Bob Dylan style instrumental.
Yes.
It sounds really good.
Yes. It was a great way to start the album.
Like, that could have been like the single instead of Overdrive.
I agree.
Because like it is a great way to start the album. You're like, all right, so like he obviously like put his heart into this.
Yes,
you can hear it. I think the lyrics the lyrics on that song are really cool.
Yes,
because it's he's singing to his significant other about how he knows he's like a fuck up, basically.
Yes,
and she shouldn't be into him.
Yes.
But she is, and he's kind of like, why do you even love me?
Why are you? Yes, yeah.
But the second song that we were going to talk about that I like a lot as well is Something Real.
Yes.
That song, it kind of fuses like country rock with 80s stadium rock, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of like Bon Jovi or something like that. Or I know you mentioned like Heart.
Right, when they had the Kennedy Center's honors to Led Zeppelin, and Heart did their rendition of Stairway to Heaven. There was a point in the song where a chorus came up the background, and they started singing, and you were just like, whoa. And when that happened in Something Real, when all of a sudden I heard the chorus, I was like, whoa, this is something I have not heard from him that blew me away. Like, it actually gave me goosebumps.
Yeah. His vocals alone on that song are phenomenal. Like, if it didn't have the chorus, I would still like it.
Yes.
Because he just sound like, I think what's interesting to me is he did this like 80s rock sound on Hollywood's Bleeding, but it just wasn't realized, I guess.
I agree. Maybe it wasn't ready for that time. I
Or
don't know.
he wasn't ready to make it.
Possibly.
Or something. Because
Possibly.
this sounds a lot better.
Yes.
This, he obviously, like, knew what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
The instrumental really fits his voice.
Yes.
He can, like, belt it out. That's why I said it reminds me of these 80s rock bands.
Yes.
Maybe someone, I mentioned Bon Jovi, maybe someone like Whitesnake.
Oh, yes.
Really booming voice.
Yes.
And it works for this. I would actually love
really good.
to see that song live.
Yes, I would tear up with goosebumps if I saw it live.
Just imagine like the whole crowd singing that.
Yes.
They sound like the chorus, but you could still hear him. It would be really cool.
Yes, it would be an emotional song live.
The next song we were going to bring up is Sign Me Up. That song, to me, feels like a fusion of music from The Weeknd's album After Hours, which is like one of my favorite albums. I'm obsessed with that record. And like country, like country pop, almost like Luke Bryan or artists like that, like these new, or Morgan Wallen, these new like country pop artists. He kind of like put them together. Like the chorus sounds like The Weeknd, and like the verses sound like country pop. Yeah.
And ironically, I said I had a bit of a Justin Bieber feel to it, and I know that's probably going to make people who are watching this laugh. By the way, Drew House is Justin Bieber wear, but there were just parts of it where I felt like I was hearing parts of Justin Bieber, just a little bit of his tone.
Yeah, maybe in his tone and his delivery.
Yeah, his tone, not the song at all, just his tone.
I think that Post Malone is a lot better singer than Justin Bieber.
Oh.
Justin Bieber has a decent voice. He has a good voice, but Post Malone's range is a lot better, at least in my opinion.
I feel Post Malone's songs, his lyrics and his songs, are better than what Justin Bieber has been putting out.
Well,
by far.
Yeah, I don't think Justin Bieber. I don't know if he has any hand in writing his own lyricism. And Post Malone definitely does. He writes all these songs, you can hear it. Or at least on this album.
Right.
I don't know about the last two albums, but
right.
He wrote all of these songs.
Right.
You can tell by what he's singing about, and which a lot of the lyricism on this album is about his alcohol and pill addiction, and how that relates to his relationship.
Yes.
And at least he's definitely acknowledging that
he has problems.
Yeah.
And again, why does my significant other love me when I have all these problems?
So the next song we were going to bring up is Speedometer, which is another one that reminds me a lot of The Weeknd's After Hours.
100%.
It's a synth pop type album.
And he's even got a little bit of a Weeknd voice to him in that one.
Yeah, I could even like hear like that too. But one thing about the instrumental that I think is cool is it kind of like incorporates, and there's a couple other times in the album where this happens. I think this is the best example. It incorporates like jazz fusion rock from artists like Toto or Chicago. Like it literally might kind of remind you of like the song Africa in a way. The way I don't know if it's synths or if it's literal like wind instruments.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Like I don't know if there's like an actual flute in there, or if it's just like a keyboard. But
you're right. You're
but
right.
It sounds like there's like a flute or something.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some type of horned type instrument or a flute or something. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's why it reminded me of those bands like Toto or Chicago, because they're kind of known for
that's a good analysis. I agree with that.
They're known for that kind of. Chicago definitely has like that sound too.
Oh yes, I grew up on Chicago.
But yeah, that it's an interesting and cool fusion. I wouldn't think of fusing like synth pop, like modern new wave style synth pop with jazz fusion. I mean, I wouldn't.
Post Malone doing that. You wouldn't think about that.
Yeah. I wouldn't think of anyone fusing music with jazz fusion, to be honest, because it's such like a unique type of music.
I think he really had his hand in this album. He had a lot more to say about what was going to happen with his songs and the way it was going to go.
Yeah, he had to have.
Right.
You can tell by Yeah, just by the way it's like arranged and stuff.
Right. Well, even his first 2 albums, you could tell that those were his albums. And,
Yeah.
And I really feel that that's true of this one, too.
Definitely. The next song that we both really like is Hold My Breath. Hold My Breath, we both immediately thought of like Norah Jones when we heard this song. It's like a jazzy folk early 2000s.
Come away with me in the night.
Like that type of music. I would, if he did a whole album of that, I would actually love it. I think his voice sounds phenomenal.
It was him singing.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful voice.
What's interesting is there's instances of that on this album, like Hold My Breath, but there's also some of that on his last album, but it weirdly felt overproduced on that album.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, it just...
Yeah.
Like, how can, like, an acoustic guitar song sound overproduced? It did. Like, this just sounds way more genuine.
And this doesn't really have the same just vibe as the other one. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful just song, and the way that he sung it's beautiful. I loved the whole idea of it. I loved the musicality of it. It's a wonderful song.
Yeah, it's really nice. I was hoping, because he did some folk stuff on his last album, I was actually hoping he went into this sound, because I thought it had a lot of potential. And it's obvious that he figured out how to do it.
Yes.
Especially there's other songs on the album that have this sound too, but especially with Hold My Breath. It's
correct.
A great song. The next one we were going to talk about is Texas Tea. Texas Tea has an old school, like, country feeling to it, kind of like outlaw country.
It's a toe tapper.
Yeah, like she mentioned that she could imagine someone like in a bar in Nashville playing this.
I could see him up there, and I have always loved his country cover songs, and I almost wish he would come out with a country-ish type of album. Not 100%, but he has that ability to do that, and that is just completely what, in my opinion, what this song was about. I mean, as soon as I heard it, I was actually walking down the street listening to it, and I was like walking, and I'm like, as I'm walking the whole way, and I'm getting looks from people, but that is a great country type song, and I wish he would do more of that, or make an album like that.
It's kind of funny how I said I wish he would do like a full folk album, you wish he would do like a full country. It's like, do a full album of a type of music.
Right.
Like, this has like 84 types. Even this one has 84 types of music on it.
Yeah, he has all these different, like, styles, and maybe he's doing that on purpose.
I mean, he is to
see what people like.
Range. Yeah,
maybe he's doing that to see, like, oh, maybe my next album should be this because I'm getting a lot of good feedback. Who knows?
I mean, I personally think he wants to cast a really wide net.
Yes.
So he'll put all these different sounds on it, and usually I'm not like super into when artists do that.
Right.
Because, I mean, some people can do it really well, and he did it pretty well in this case, but for the most part, like, just because it sounds all over the place, even this one does sound pretty all over the place.
I agree.
But
it works.
Yeah, it works a lot better than his last 2 albums where he did the same thing. But
they just didn't catch.
Yeah, they didn't hit like this.
Right.
Part of it, actually, I think, is because the lyrics on this album feel a lot more personal.
Yes.
So it draws you into some of these sounds that you wouldn't necessarily be into. I'm not like super into like country music, to be honest.
And I'm not either. I really am not. But
I can appreciate this song for sure.
Yes. I agree.
You can tell that like he wanted to make it, and I think that's pretty cool. The last song we were gonna bring up is actually the last song on the album, and it's "Laugh It Off." My mom actually did like it didn't really draw her in on first listen.
No.
It's always been, like, since I listened to this record last week, it's always been one of my favorite songs on the album. It starts off with like a country rock feel, or not even a country rock, like an acoustic country feel, and then transitions into like almost alternative rock, and in the end it reminds me of like Green Day music, to be honest.
So he played it for me right before we did this, and I listened to it and I'm like, I completely missed that. I did not like hear that when I was, and I've listened to the album several times now. I missed that. And I agree. It is a good song. You just hear that fusion of music going all the way through. It is really good. It is. I love how he changed up his style through the song.
I think it's a really good closer too. One of the reasons is because it starts off slower. The two songs before this, Landmine and I'm blanking on the other one, have like a slower like folk feeling. And this one starts off with that sound, and then it turns into this like huge, like alternative rock song, which is different than anything on the album. There isn't really anything that has a 90s alternative rock sound, and yeah, it's just like a super like big way to close the record. You're like, oh, like that was like a cool ending,
right?
You know, but overall, I thought this album was good. It was a lot better than his last two. I really like how personal it feels. And the fact that like I mentioned, the fact that it's so diverse in its sound doesn't really hurt it.
Correct.
As much as some of like his other music.
If you had to rank it 1 out of 10, what would you give it?
I think when I wrote about it, I gave it like around a 6.5. Which is that's about where I'm at with it right now.
Well, if I were to rank it, I would probably give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good.
Right.
But
I mean, yes, it's good. I might even go 8, but I would really have to listen to a 10 album to be able to do that comparison, and I haven't heard a 10 album in quite a while. So I'm going to agree. I think we're in the right range when we're listening to it.
One thing that's good about this album is it's not like, if you like go online and look at how people are talking about it, there are people like you who like love it, but there's no one who like really hates it for the most part.
Right.
I haven't seen, besides Pitchfork, who hates on everyone just to be cool at this point. Don't even get me started on that. But besides them, I haven't really seen people who thought it was like bad.
I agree.
And I don't think that it's bad. I think it's good.
Right.
But it's probably good to great depending on how much it draws you in.
Right.
But
and how much of a Post Malone fan you are too.
Yeah, that too. That too, definitely.
Right.
I'm also not as big as a Post Malone fan anymore. And if you really like his voice, the vocals on this album are great.
They're wonderful.
So that would be like one reason I think his big fans would be really into it.
Right. So Post actually just came to Wisconsin and performed at Alpine Valley on July 15th. But I feel that wasn't advertised a lot.
Is he still coming to the Pfizer Forum?
No, I didn't see anything about it.
Oh.
Was that listed that he was?
I know that it was announced that he was supposed to come in like October or November.
We're going.
But I don't know if this concert like took the place of that.
Oh, well,
so
if you're not coming, please come back and please go to the Pfizer, because I would love to see you in concert, especially now that you released this album. It would be amazing. One thing about this album is, regardless of if you like it or love it, there's so many songs on it that would sound very good live. It would be really fun to see performed. 100%.
But yeah, with that being said, I'm Joe.
And I'm Joe's mom.
We're Eastside Vibes. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. Check out my blog if you want to. It's linked in the bio. and I know my mom has a little quote she wants to read.
So, Sunflower, someone did an interview with Post Malone a few years back, and they were asking him, like, what song really meant the most to him. And he said that it was actually Sunflower. Now, I know you didn't necessarily agree with this, but he said it was Sunflower because he felt that that song really launched his notoriety in multiple spans. I think before that he felt that he was maybe in only one genre, but Sunflower put him out there to multiple genres, and that's why it really meant a lot to him professionally and personally. And that's actually still the number 4 most listened to song on Spotify.
That's pretty cool that it's still that high ranked on Spotify. And when I think about it, Sunflower came out before it was on his own album. It came out as a single for the Spider-Man multiverse movie, and it probably was the first time that he made like pop like that, because that came out before his album.
Yes, it did.
And I'm thinking of like that album has all these different sounds. But before that, he was known for like the hip hop stuff. So
if we look at it from the perspective of that he did it for a pop type feel for a movie, maybe that's what he's referring to.
Well, yeah, and that it came in my head. I had thought it was for that album, but I think it came out before Hollywood.
And he just added it to the album.
He just put it on there. But yeah, have a great day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.